Welcome back, guys. This is part 2 of our Venomous Snake Tools series. So if you didn't see part 1, that was posted last week. We covered things like hooks, tongs, and containment in pretty good detail. In today's video, we're going to look at some of the more obscure tools. So these are, again, additional items that allow us to perform various tasks with venomous snakes safely and more efficiently. So things like tubes, gloves, hemostats, shields, all that stuff. So hope you guys enjoy watching. Hope you learned something. All right, so let's jump right in. So with these tools, I'll kind of go in order of what's on the table in front of me here. And the very first thing we're going to start with are snake tubes. So snake tubes are essentially a set of different diameter tubes, anywhere from like 1/4 inch all the way up to a good 4+ inches in diameter. And what these allow us to do, actually all sorts of tasks, specialized tasks. So veterinarians, field biologists, and then captive keepers, in a zoo setting sort of thing. That's where these are an absolute must. They allow you to safely restrain the snake in a way where you can perform tasks like probing the snake to sex it, or just looking at the subcaudal scales and getting a good clear photo and a count. We'll use them for things like a shot, like an injection to a snake, things like stuck shed skin in certain areas. It can come in handy to tube them. And basically it's a way to restrain the snake to where you can't get bit as long as you know what you're doing. It allows you close access and a close look at the snake. So wonderful tool. You'll notice in a lot of these videos, I'm posting B-roll. These are not necessarily videos that show the technique. That might be for another video. We're not, again, teaching people how to do this per se. We're more just kind of showing these tools in use and describing what they're used for. So mostly for educational purposes. The next tool that I'm going to cover, more so safety item, are these gloves. Now, bite gloves in general have been extremely controversial over the last, as long as they've been around. I do think they have a context. I do think they work great, but it's key to get the right ones. So I don't want to spend way too much time on these, but I do feel like there's a lot that goes into picking the right glove when it comes to being as snake bite proof as possible. You can't treat any of these as 100% snake bite proof. But if you were, these would be the ones. So the issue with these gloves, these are made by Hex Armor. And this particular model, the only one I would recommend, it's the model 3180, so 3180. These are the long gauntlet style ones. They've got 3 layers of what Hex Armor calls super fabric. It's basically this needle stick resistant fabric, and there's 3 layers of it. Now, the problem is they discontinued these gloves a while ago, and they have a almost identical look-alike, and it's not the same thing. It's actually the 400 R6E is what those are, and it has 2 layers of the super fabric, so 1 less layer. And the problem is a lot of people see these gloves in use. They go onto Hex Armor's website or Amazon or safety websites that sell equipment like this, and they get those other models, which again don't have as much protection, and those have failed before. I've heard of plenty of stories where a snake bit through a glove and the person wasn't venomated. So again, you want to get the right one, but on top of that, you don't want to count on these as your first line of defense. These are a backup tool that provide an extra layer of defense. And I will say these have provided great protection. I actually have been bit on them before. The fangs did not go through, nothing happened. But these have allowed me to do some special extra risky tasks. I've seen companies that do snake removal, getting snakes off of glue traps or cutting them out of bird netting, and they're using these as backup, and that's a great context. So again, Do everything as if you're not wearing the gloves, be extra careful, but for an extra line of defense, these are a great tool. In the description below, I'm going to post a link to, well, 2 links. One of them will be to where you can get the right glove, and then another link will be to a video of them demonstrating how resistant to snake fangs and puncturing that these actually are. So I mentioned just a moment ago that these have been discontinued by Hex Armor. Interestingly, and I don't know the whole backstory here, but these are manufactured in Pakistan, and a company out of Europe has basically rebranded them, is calling them Venom Defender gloves, and it's still the right model. So in a nutshell, if you want to get these, you have to import them from Europe. They're pretty pricey, but they are, in my opinion, worth every penny. And so Venom Defender gloves, again, it's actually the Hex Armor 3180s. And not the, I have it written down here because I keep forgetting, the 400 R6E. The 400 R6E is what you don't want to get. They're probably a great glove, but they're not going to be as needle stick resistant as these are. And so yeah, great tool, backup safety. Absolutely recommend having a pair around, but just don't rely on them to always save you from a bite. Don't be careless. Don't free handle the snakes with these. One other nice thing about them is they do seem to block so much of our, heat signature. I will say a lot of snakes are a lot less reactive to these, so at least that's my theory. Yeah, as I've interacted with snakes, they just seem less intimidated by your hand in a glove versus your bare hand. So I'll provide links to those below. I would say watch that video. It's a little older, but you can see just how well these work. They did some vigorous testing before they advertised them as a snake bite proof glove. But again, I can't say this enough, do not count on them 100%. Especially, and even the best ones, over time, just like anything else, there will be wear and tear. They may eventually fail, and you do not want to have to be going to a hospital thinking you were safe and had a fang go through it. So be careful with them. I do think they're a must-have, though, for venomous keepers. Another tool, there was a past video where I showed this briefly in our shipping rattlesnakes video. This is a little rack tool. This is made by Animal Equipment by Stoney, and so aestoney.com. And this is a great tool. So we don't use racks for much in here. Almost all of our rattlesnakes are in, fairly spacious displays. But our hatchling room, where we keep all our babies, we use racks in there. In our hibernaculum, where we hibernate all of our snakes, or brumate, that's where we also use racks there too. So this is a tool. They come in a couple different lengths, but what this does, it provides an extra, amount of space for you to open up a tub safely, and you're a long ways from the actual animal. If you get some extra, food happy snakes, this comes in handy because you never want to pull open a tub from a rack system with a venomous snake in it. I've seen countless videos and heard close call stories where an extra hungry snake decides to strike as soon as that tub is disturbed and comes open. You do not want to have your finger there on the lip. So any tubs that have essentially a lip that's, I don't know, 1/8 inch or so wide or more, this should slip right under it, and you should be able to easily pull that tub out and create plenty of space from the tub. And a great little tool. And as you saw in our shipping video, if you go and rewatch that one, picture the thumbnail here. In that video, you'll see us use this as a way to pop the lids onto the deli cups that the snakes are in, so they can have some other use as well. But essentially, it's a snake hook with just a flat end. But great tool, fairly inexpensive. And these are an absolute must-have. So these are nice, long hemostats. These are great for things like, pulling a shed skin out of a cage if you need to. I also recommend having a couple extra grabbers around. So we've got some trash grabbers laying around our building where we'll use that to pull out shed skins too. Snake tongs work just fine for that. These work fine for that as well. But probably more importantly, we like using these to feed the snakes. So we'll use these extra long forceps and to grip the pre-killed rodents, and we can offer it to the snake and be far enough out of strike range to be safe. So yeah, these are basically giant tweezers. I think both of these are 2 feet tall. And again, just like in the first video, I'm going to provide links below in the description to where all these tools can be found, just from some of the places that we recommend. And then this similar purpose, this is just a long pair of tweezers. They got a rubber tipped end, and this can be nice for feeding. This actually can be nice for picking up some snakes too, especially out of tight spaces. So in a way, if you're gentle and careful enough, these can be used much like the tongs that you saw in part 1 of this video series. The other thing, I didn't mention this earlier, so in combination with the snake tubes, there is actually a way where you can get a venom extraction properly and safely done, hands-free, to where you're not, old school style grabbing the animal and pinning it and you doing a milking that way. Using snake tubes, you can get the snake in the tube. When it comes out the other end, you can guide its head using these, and if it's a snake that is willing to bite, you can get a venom sample pretty safely and effectively by using these in combination with the tube. So pretty cool additional application there with those two tools combined. This tool is by no means made for venomous snakes, but it really comes in handy. So this is actually a lighted telescoping mirror. I got this on Amazon, and I think it was like $25, maybe $30. It's basically a mirror with a couple LED lights at the top, and it telescopes. This is a great tool for a lot of things. So you see behind me here, a lot of our rattlesnake exhibits are set up naturalistically. And so they have lots of rock and dead grasses and wood pieces and things like that. And we've got these little hides that the snakes like to hide in. And sometimes, if we need to do some cage maintenance, we don't see the snake. It's probably hiding in one of those hides or behind the hide. This is a great tool to kind of do a little inspection work and see where the snake is hiding. It also comes in handy for like looking behind hides to see if there's any, missed poops or something that we didn't get. But yeah, to confirm where the snake is in the cage is absolutely crucial before you even think about, doing any maintenance. And so when our snakes are hidden and we don't want to unstock a bunch of rocks, we can use this tool to slide under their hide. We can confirm if the snake is hiding under that hide or not, and ends up being a great little tool. So again, just little lit telescoping mirror, great tool for that sort of stuff. And this is a tool that I'll admit mostly collects dust here. This is called a pinning hook. Midwest makes these. That's tongs.com again. And this is essentially a little forked piece with a piece of like a silicone medical tubing. And so you can see here it gives. So this is made for physically pinning the snake, which can come in handy for things like force feeding or maybe milking or just pinning the snake to grip it. Again, unless you're doing venom extractions or very specific things, this is a not commonly used tool, probably pretty unnecessary. When we pin snakes to force feed, I often end up using the back of the hook instead, just for whatever reason. The kind of horizontal pressure point is nice. But yeah, this can be used in the same way. And this is made so that it gives in a way where when you put pressure on the snake, it's you're not breaking bones or hurting it. You're just simply pushing its head down. And especially if you do this in combination with on top of like a big sponge, or maybe you do it on a surface that gives that's not super hard, ends up being a little kinder on the snake to get the job done. So that's called a pinning hook. Another tool that we pretty frequently use, and these we use often in combination with these gloves. So this is basically a polycarbonate shield. We actually make these and sell them in our gift shop. We have them in 11 by 14, I think this is, and then 8 by 10, so a little smaller, got a nice handle on them. And these tools, again, can be a little controversial. They are not made to just cut corners, but if used properly, they can really spare some stress on the snake. So we like using them, and for instance, a good context might be, a snake's hidden in its hide, the water bowl is a long ways from that hide, and every wise keeper knows never reach your hand into a snake cage with a live rattlesnake in there. But the shield is a way to block the snake in its hide, so then we can safely grab things like the water bowl. So there's kind of different trains of thought. There's people that say, oh, never do maintenance without pulling the snake out first. But I would argue that's not always the case. I think never and always are strong words. So for certain things, these are a great tool. A snake that's extra feisty and hard to work with, that might be one that if it's sitting quiet in its hide, obviously you want to minimize disturbing it, right? So these tools, these shields, create a way to not have to physically pull the snake out, and in some cases that might be more risky even if you're doing everything by the books. Having maybe two bodies, one person has the shield, watches the snake through the shield, they are transparent, while the other person safely grabs the water bowl. Great teamwork there. Nobody gets hurt. Snake didn't get stressed. In our venomous courses, I create this Venn diagram where you've got being 100% safe. On the other side, it's minimizing stress on the animal, and those two overlap, and we try to convince our students to work within that overlap, still being 100% safe, but also taking into consideration the stress on the animal. So those are a great tool for very specific contexts, and again, in combination with the glove, that would be ideal. We also have a much larger one with basically a broomstick end. So it's a shield that's on the end of a stick. I have seen a few people out there making those in different sizes where, again, it's like a snake hook, but with a shield end. And again, it's all the same idea. It's a way to kind of block the snake or corner it or keep it in its hide so that a simple task can be performed safely. And another thing, I don't know if I'd call this a tool, but everybody must have multiple flashlights. Flashlights are key to, again, see into hides, see what the snake's up to. If you're ever working with a venomous snake and were to suddenly lose power, having some of these around are absolutely crucial. We're not partial to any certain brand, but everybody doing anything with venomous snakes absolutely have multiple flashlights laying around. I think that's just common sense, but figured I might as well mention them. All right, and another safety, more so apparel than tool, just much like the gloves, are gaiters. And so I've got a pair here. These are razor gaiters. We also have these in our gift shop. And these are just a way to help protect your feet a little better. So think of them as soccer shin guards, just extra coverage. So you can wrap these around your ankle area. There's a little flap that covers part of your boot or shoe as well. And this just provides extra protection for your lower extremities. I think you should have a pair. Multiple reasons. These are great for, herping, out looking for wild snakes. Kind of keeps brush and stuff from hitting your legs too. But the other thing, again, just like the gloves, it kind of blocks some of your heat signature, so that seems to help a little bit, at least indoors. Outdoors, these probably get just as hot as your body, if not hotter. But yeah, they're great for a little extra protection. And we have some snakes in higher up cages, as you can see. And so, hasn't happened yet, but if one was to fall out of the cage and land by your feet, again, this is extra protection. And there's also snake boots. Snake boots can be a little bulky, so, but personal preference. Snake boots are great if you like them. These can modify any shorter boot to make your, just below the knee down to your ankles protected as well. And so I recommend getting a pair of these just in case for additional safety. I think that's it, guys. So hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully this gave you some good tidbits of information. Again, this is our world here working with venomous snakes. There's all sorts of tools that allow us to do our tasks safely. Again, no excuses for getting bit. And so these are what allow that to work. So again, if you missed part one, go back and watch that. You can see all about the different hooks, tongs, and containment systems, which basically we use buckets for that. So go back and watch that video if you missed it. And if there's any tool I didn't cover, feel free to comment below. Is there something else you want to hear a little bit about, just our thoughts on? I didn't cover some more husbandry related tools, so things like probe kits to sex the snakes, things of that sort. We may do that on another video, but for now we figured we'd cover a lot of the safety tools and things that we kind of use on a day-to-day basis in here. All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Thank you for sharing and liking and subscribing, commenting, all that. We always appreciate it. We've got a couple more exciting videos ahead for you, so stick around. Every Friday at 5, we'll be posting another video. Be safe out there. Catch you next time.